Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your Rule 31. We have a 12 game slate here for Tuesday. Monday went pretty well, so I'm pretty happy about that. And if you watch these videos for a long time, that Mega loves DK achievements. And only one team for the home run achievement away, and it's Cleveland. They have not hit a home run since the contest started. So as soon as they get one, then I am done. So if you want to participate in it, it's really simple. Just stack dime contests in Showdown or in Classic. And actually, I think I've paid like $10.30 or whatever, and I've won over 60. So I mean, some teams surprised me that actually went off that I normally wouldn't stack. I did in the dime, and maybe I should do this all the time since the ROI has been incredible. So if you are a player that can still play in things under $5, then that's the way to go to get a couple thousand crowns for you to use for other contests. Or if DK has some nice things, like I usually end up getting like four, five, 600,000 crowns by November, and they have a great Black Friday sale where almost all the stuff is half off. So last year I got like 3 iPads for the family for Christmas, so works out pretty cool. So let's get into the slate here. First game up, we have the Subway Series going to Yankee Stadium, Mets and Yankees. Quintana and Heel. Quintana's been okay. The Yankees, the strikeout rate's gone down a little bit in the last 14 days, but we'll just have to see. Yeah, that should be a pretty right-handed heavy lineup against Quintana here. I just don't like targeting the Yankees, so I think Quintana is probably going to be in my no interest one. I don't think he's a complete fade because the Yankees have laid some eggs and the Yankees have some strikeouts. So if you're mass multi-entering, 20 max, no, 150 max, yes, less than 5% ownership on in your uh, percentage for your 150 max team for Quintana. Heel, I think he had some good starts and then he had a couple rough ones, but his last two have been solid. But the Mets have been hitting really well. Like Lindor had 2 home runs last night, and actually Jeff McNeil down the bottom of the lineup is starting to heat up. And Iglesias, like everybody in this lineup seems to be doing well and hitting well. And I can't believe they only have a 3.8 total, and they're such a dog here. It's a park upgrade for them. I mean, they play their field is more of a pitcher's park. They just got out of Miami where they put up a bunch of runs, and that's more of a pitcher's park. And they go to a pitcher's park here where it's going to be 83 degrees and the wind's blowing slightly out to left field. So I think the Mets would definitely have to be in consideration here. And the Yankees, I think, against Quintana, I just stick to the righties. Like LeMahieu leads off, and he's cheap enough. He can still do enough if he gets on to score some runs and stuff. Soto's good lefty, lefty. Judge, JD Davis, just dongs. Love playing him against lefties. And Torres and Volpe. Volpe has slumped and he got kicked out of the leadoff spot and has been down in the lineup. He did have a home run the other day. So, the power is still there. Bottom of the lineup, Cabrera, Jones, and Navarez if you have to. Next up, we have Tampa Bay and the Blue Jays, Tyler Alexander and Barrios here. Tyler Alexander, maybe, but the Blue Jays seem to be heating up a little bit. Like Springer was terrible to start the season. Vlad, coming off the All-Star break, seems to be hitting pretty well. So um, I think Alexander's risky. If you need a cheap pitcher, I mean, potentially, again, in large field tournaments, 150 max, I wouldn't play him in 20 max. And Barrios on the other side, start out first couple starts were shaky. Then he was solid, and now he's back to being shakier and worse than shaky, pretty volatile. So Tampa Bay doesn't necessarily have the offense they've had a couple of years ago, but I think in 150 max that they're definitely in play here. Um, Probably would just go with the stacks. Like Diaz is still away. I don't know why he's not suspended or anything. A family issue. So there's one big bad of it, but that'd be righty on righty. So they'll probably move some of the lefties up. So you have like Palacios leading off, Low, Revolt the catcher. I like against righties. So you've got some options there if you want to, but I think they're going to be pretty low owned and probably like more for large field tournaments. But Toronto, I think, is definitely up in the GPP one, probably one of my top 10 favorite teams on the night here. And again, like Springer, Jansen, I like it when he hits second here against lefties, usually Vlad. Turner's great against lefties. Schneider's great against lefties. Clement has actually been solid recently. Jimenez, Kiermaier, and Barrera on the bottom of the lineup. I mean, they're super cheap. Like they're almost free. They're like 2, 2, 2, 1, and 2. If you need some cheap fill-ins, I mean, I think they're in play here, but I'd probably stick closer to the top of the Blue Jays stack to make it work. Next game we have is the Reds and the Braves. I fear this one's going to be trouble with weather, and I don't know if I want to play the starting pitchers because rain comes in the middle of the game, really heavy, and then it tapers off. So it looks like it's good to start, but then you might get a downpour in the middle of it, and the starting pitchers might not last. So Nick Martinez, I'm not super enthralled with, uh, even though the Braves team is getting watered down with injury after injury after injury. This for the poor Braves. Okay, so they lose Albies to like a broken wrist, and they're like, okay, we need some help. So go out and get Whit Merrifield. That he was great at Kansas City. He was on Philly, and he's been okay there. He had some decent games filling in with their injuries, but all their guys are getting healthy, so they sent him packing. They DFA'd him, so the Braves sign him. He goes there. He's doing outfield or infield practice or whatever because he's probably gonna. He has played outfield, but he's probably gonna play like second base or fill in some middle infield position. And he takes a ground ball off the finger, and now he's like the X-rays are negative. He should be fine. So they bring up Nacho Alvarez, who's some little bit of pop, but mostly like speed and stolen bases in AAA, and he was 0 for 4 yesterday. So, is if this game goes, if the weather clears up, is Martinez in play? I think so. It's not a Great American Small Park, and I guess that the Braves just aren't like super mighty and powerful anymore. So it could be sneaky. Dale on the other side should be a top pitcher on the slate, but the weather's really scaring me. Like Cincinnati's a great matchup here. They have usually have a pretty decent strikeout, even though the last 14 days they've kind of fallen out of the top 10 because some other teams have just gotten worse with injuries or some recent call-ups. But there's definitely some strikeouts there. So um, that wise, Cincinnati, I think leverage stack here. I always try to, if I play Cincinnati, throw Hines in my stack. He's just an exciting young player. Even Marte is starting to put it together after the PED suspension. They picked up Austin Slater, who's always been good against lefties from the Giants. So you definitely have probably an all right-handed team here going up against Sale. And if this game does play and you do want a super sneaky stack, I think Cincinnati works. But Atlanta on the other side, I get Martinez. I think they'll be okay. Um, but Cincinnati bullpen isn't horrible either, so I'm probably not playing a ton of Braves. Philadelphia and the Twins here, 75 degrees, wind blowing in slightly in Minnesota. Wheeler and Wood Richardson. Wheeler, I think, is going to probably be the top pay up option on slate. And it's really weird here because you pay up in the 9K range for those five pitchers under high salary. And then there's a significant drop because the next one down, I think, is Barrios. And I think he's like 8,300. So what a gap between, he's 81. There's somebody that was 8,300 out there and Italian. So, and I don't even think that he's like, and play too much, but we'll get to that. So, looking at that, like it's just like yesterday, I think the highest price pitcher was like 9K, and now here you have like a huge five of them over 9K, and then a huge gap down to like the mid range. So Wheeler, if you want to pay up, I think is decent. Minnesota still is missing some bats. I thought Kepler was out yesterday, but it looks like he's back in. Probably they're just like platooning him against lefties and righties. But you still have like Lewis out. You still have Correa out. They pulled Julian back up, but he's hitting down in the bottom order. He's still having a little bit of issue with strikeouts. So it's a good matchup. There are definitely some Ks here, even though they look on the screen the last 14 days with the bottom K, but losing Carrera and bringing like Julian back up and some of the guys in this lineup against a righty actually increases their K rate. So it should be a decent matchup for Wheeler if you want to pay up. Wood Richardson, he's been okay. Like he's pretty average at 6'2". You get what you pay for there. Uh, Phillies definitely has a borderline elite offense. They're almost getting fully healthy with Real Muto back there, and Marsh sat out last night. I forget it was injury or sick or something, but he should return back to the lineup against a righty here. But they just have so many weapons. Schwarber's hitting better. Turner, Harper, Baum have just been solid. Real Muto, Stott really rose to the occasion when Harper was out and Turner were out and Real Muto out. So this team's really coming together. They could be very scary in the fall. So I don't mind Philly at all. I have them in the GPPs, but just uh, we're just looking at like totals there. But I think and pricing that's kind of how I do my rankings sometimes too. Is it's hard to stack Philly because you have Turner at 6.2 now, like almost some Tani pricing, and then the other four are in the 5K range. So it's a very expensive stack. So that's why it's kind of wonky. New York and Toronto are much more reasonable price wise. So that's why Philly's down there. Not because I don't think they're going to score runs, just because the rest of your lineup when you play them isn't great unless you're punting in a lot of spots. Minnesota, I think will just be a leverage stack against Wheeler. Wrigley Field, maybe some rain here, about 38-40% chance. The wind is blowing out 8 miles per hour, 81 degrees, so that should increase hitting. But Ray is definitely can get some strikeouts here against the Cubs, so I think he's a solid play for you in the mid range. And then Tyon, I have with the 150 max. He just doesn't have like a K upside. And he's faced Milwaukee 3 times already this season, and he's only put up like low teens for DK points. So I just really don't want to go there for 8,300. I can get the same result for Ray on the other side in the same game and save myself $1,000 almost. So that's where I'm going with that. Milwaukee, I think, makes a top GPP stack against Tyon, just looking at how they've done and like the lefties there. I don't know if they're playing Contreras and Adames against the righty, and that's perfectly fine here, but there's definitely try to get the lefties in your lineup. And the Cubs, if you want to target righty, I think it's just going to be Bush, Suzuki, Happ, and Talkman, the same way that we talked about yesterday against righty. White Sox and Rangers, Crochet against Gray. Crochet is starting to put the kid gloves on. It's obviously it's after the All-Star break. He's pitched a bunch of innings. He's done really well. Don't want to blow his arm out. They're playing for nothing. If he doesn't get traded, then you're going to see a cap on his upside at 9.8. Rangers for strikeouts, they're kind of neutral. So I don't really think I'm going to be playing 9.8 in Crochet because I just think that if he goes 4 or 5 innings and gets pulled out of the game, is he going to be able to pay off his price tag and not a high K matchup? No, I don't think so. Gray on the other side, if you look at his score, you're like, oh man, he got only went 1 inning. Well, he came out in relief. He was starting to pitch, and then now he's back in the rotation now just to as a filler. So but he's gone like 4 or 5 and he's been okay and is the White Sox. So at 7K, I think I'll take a shot on him here. And again, like he's probably this gonna get you similar results in return that Ray or Tyon would, and he's cheaper than both of them. So why not? I think he'll definitely open up some salary. I'm not saying he's a priority. He is one that if you land in that price range and you can't get up to Rai, then and you're not going to play Jordan Montgomery coming back off of an injury, then okay, plug him in and hope for the best and hope he just gets you like 12 to 14 points and you can move on. The rest of your lineup goes off. You're golden. That's what we're looking at there. That wise, White Sox, I think Gray will pick up some ownership because he's facing the White Sox and they're not a good team, even though they did put up some runs last night. And, the question was like, who's going to hit the home run? And it was DeJong was the answer. So, White Sox roulette is a fun game to play. It's seldom profitable, but if you nail it, then you definitely could maybe make some money because probably Matt Noah is the only other person that's playing them on the slate. Love you, Matt. Uh, Texas Rangers, I think they definitely could be in play here also. Um, as a leverage play against Crochet. But like I said, he's probably not going to go that deep. And I think the Rangers make a great. I'm probably play a Rangers stack today. Here's why: because the White Sox bullpen is the second worst out there. So if Crochet's not gonna go that deep, then they'll just come in and beat up on the bullpen. So, okay, so he gets maybe once, twice through the rotation, gets pulled, and then they go to town, and maybe if they put up some crooked numbers in late innings, they can get there. So I will try that in at least one lineup tonight. Arizona and Kansas City. Montgomery coming back for injury, not going to touch him. He struggled even before going out. I don't know how deep he's going to go. And Arizona's got a decent bullpen behind him, but Kansas City has just been phenomenal recently, as you saw. What's on the cover here? He's just at 6'4", but he has just been having multiple hit game after multiple hit game, just absolutely on fire. So I'm just excited to see that. Should be a good game here. Should be a high scoring game here. It's got 9.5 total without any weather factor there. I mean, it is 86 degrees, but it's like no wind factor or anything. I just think you have two suspect pitchers that we're not going to touch here, and you've got two decent offensives. Now, we always prefer Arizona against lefties, but I think they can do some damage to righties here. Carroll, Marte, Peterson's where I'm going to start. Walker's fine, either one. And then like cheaper pieces like Moreno or Alex Thomas, or a wraparound even with Perdermo at the shortstop. I like that. And then Kansas City, they're facing the lefties, so give me Garcia with Pescatino's okay, but I'll probably skip over him. Perez, Renfro, and Hampson at 2.7 is really cheap. Blanco is a wraparound, has some speed also. On the bottom is kind of a second table starter as you wrap around, so that's in play also. Coors Field, Boston, Colorado. Cooper Criswell and Ty Blotch. Not playing Blotch. Criswell is interesting. Like the Rockies have the second or the highest, actually 30% K rate. And even though they put up some runs yesterday, I think Houck, did a decent job. The runs were later on in the and most of the time the Boston's been giving up runs, and maybe it's kind of hurting their bullpen is their defense has been bad. I've watched a lot of Red Sox games just because of I'm on the East Coast, and I usually flipping around, and yeah, I don't, as a Yankees fan and Orioles fan, I don't really like the Red Sox, obviously, because they're a competitor, but I do like playing them from DFS point of view, just because they're a nice team to usually stack. So I usually have some exposure, so I usually watch some of the games. But their defense has just been atrocious, especially in the infield, and they've given up a lot of runs and hurt a lot of pitchers that way. So I mean, that could be how like Colorado ends up putting up some runs. But I think Criswell, if you need a punt and you can't get it like 5.8 is fine. If he gets like 10 to 12 points, you're golden there. And then Blash, like I said, on the other side, I'm not touching. I think he's just going to get annihilated. So the Red Sox, Duran is always good, lefty, lefty, but expensive. Like at 6K, I think you have to choose between the lefties, Duran or Devers. Just remember, Colorado has only usually one lefty in their bullpen, and that's their closer. So don't ever fear playing lefties against them, left-handed starting pitcher, because if he gets blown up, then it's going to be all righties after that, pretty much. So, but if you're stacking righties, then Riefsnyder, Wong are really cheap there. O'Neill is super solid usually. Um, Gonzalez, Westbrook had a home run last night. He's 3K. You can do a nice little wraparound stack there. The Rockies side of things, Blackman had a decent game last night. I think he had 21 DK points. Tovar has been on fire. McMahon was out, but he should be back. It's just a small like hand contusion. There's just like resting it. He should be good to go from what I've read. Doyle's been okay. Toglia has actually been solid. A nice younger player that could be like the next generation of stars here in Colorado. Switch hitter, has some power, speed, good package there. And the bottom of the lineup, only if you have to. Next up, Houston and the Athletics, Bloss and Beto. No, can't do that. I don't think Bloss I think is okay, but he hasn't gotten super deep in the games. Yes, it is Oakland, but their strikeout rate has actually gone down a bit recently. They haven't been like one of the worst teams there, and they've actually been starting to hit for some power. So Bloss is in play, but don't love him. And Beto, I'm not going to play against the Houston team, even though they haven't been like super good. So Houston, I think in GPP would probably be my fifth favorite one. I just like Milwaukee potentially if the wind's blowing out there to aid them. The Yankees in a good matchup. Toronto's in a good matchup against the lefty there, and Philly is good, but like I said, it's just expensive. Houston is not as expensive anymore. You just have the two 5K guys, whether the Altuve and Alvarez with Bregman, Diaz. Singleton's okay at 2.9. Like I'd rather like punt with like Luperfido or Cabbage and do a Red Brown thing than probably play Singleton and stack 1 through 5. I'd rather go like 9-1-2-3-4 or 8-1-2-3-4. So on the Oakland side of it, Butler just continues to be on fire at 3.7 is an egregiously low price tag for the production that he's had recently. And then, I think the top 5 are decent. Toro didn't make it back to the lineup yesterday, but hopefully he'll be back in today as a switch hitter. I'm definitely going to play him once he is back. I'll have like an A stack with some of the lefties. Against Houston, just for the revenge narrative. But Houston's bullpen has actually put themselves together and been decent, top 5 in the last 14 days. So again, you hopefully the A's get to the front to the starting pitcher, because if they get to the good part of the bullpen, then it's not going to be a good night for them. Angels and Mariners, Soriano and Gilbert. Anderson had a great game last night. I think he had like 7 Ks and limited damage and did really well. Uh, Julio Rodriguez was out. Luckily, it's just a mild ankle sprain. He might be able to get back into the game today, but they did lose JP Crawford to a broken finger or something like that. So he'll be out a significant amount of time. So we'll probably see like Blanco or probably some other people coming in and filling in there at the shortstop position for them. Dylan Morse, who I'm trying to spit out here. So he'll probably be in there, but Robos could go up and lead off. And like I said, he's been stealing some bases recently and doing pretty well. So, but I think Soriano's in play here. He's been okay. I think he's the best in the medium range here, and I think there's definitely some K upside. And Logan Gilbert on the other side is probably my favorite pay up if you are going there. With Sale with the weather and I like the K matchup a little bit better than what Wheeler has there. So Gilbert, I'll definitely be having some exposure to, and Soriano. Angels bats, I play him every time, but I really can't make a super case for him against Gilbert. It just as a leverage thing. And Seattle has been one of my favorite cheap fill-in stacks recently, just because Robles at 2-4 is a great place here. Luke Raley has actually got first base eligibility now that France got DFA'd. Rojas is usually pretty cheap. Also, Riley, Blanco, I like the switch hitters. I like the lefties. If Rodriguez is back, he's only 4.8. This team's really cheap to stack and make things work against an Angels team that isn't that great. And finally, San Francisco and the Dodgers. Jordan Hicks, I just can't play him against the Dodgers. So 150 max if you want to, but I'm not going to touch him there. And then Landon Knack on the other side. He just doesn't go deep enough into the games. And San Francisco will mix a match against him and just trying to make his night not great. So the Giants, I think you can still play him as cheap because again, Knack has given up some runs and hasn't really been super dominant. And actually, the LA Dodgers bullpen hasn't been anything to write home about recently too. They're in the top 10 is one of the worst pens in the last 14 days, giving up some runs. So definitely some potential there. And then the Dodgers always a great late night hammer there. Otani, Freeman, Lux, I definitely would play some Lux. Lux has been on fire also recently. I didn't see if he got into the game or not last night, but he probably didn't start just because he was up against a lefty. But the game's coming off the All-Star break. He's had a couple homers and been hitting really well. And it looks like Hayward's back in the lineup too. So there's another cheap one there. So it's really nice. Like you can make the Dodgers work because the bottom of the lineup is so cheap to go with the top heavy Otani and Freeman and Smith and Teoscar Hernandez. I know Hernandez had home run last night, so I believe, or he had a pretty good game from what I saw for the box score. So I'm assuming he had a home run. Okay, so that's what I got for you. Let's look at the breakdown, get you on your way for your Tuesday. So, Ray and Soriano, where I'm going cash. I'd love to try to get to Gilbert, but I really want to stack Coors Field. So, Long, Toga, Westbrook, I'm going to punt there and do the wraparound thing. Tovar and Reef Snyder. I'll let you decide who your pay up is. If you're going to pay up for Neil, if you're going to pay up for Devers, if you're going to pay up for Duran, you can only get one, but there should be enough value left on Boston and Colorado to be able to fill out your lineup fine. So I wanted to go Kansas City here, and I'll talk about a Kansas City stack after. um, this, but I'm gonna go with Arizona because I think they're gonna have low ownership. I think they're gonna be just as sneaky or just as effective as Kansas City. So give me Gilbert there. My SP2, I might end up on Criswell, but there were some where I was able to get up into the medium range a little bit there. So I'll have to play around the build when I see the lineups come out. But I'm gonna go with Raleigh there. I'm okay if you take Moreno there over Raleigh, but I really like Raleigh as a key part of the Seattle stack. Walker, Marte, again, if you want to boot Walker there, Riley now has first base eligibility, so that definitely can help you be able to pay up for a better SP2. Marte is second base, but again, if you want to go more the Seattle route and Dylan Moore, Polanco fit in there, that's fine. Third base and shortstop, I'll let you decide if you want to go one-offs or go with Perdermos, wrap around Suarez, or take like Roas. And I don't know if there's going to be an eligible shortstop for Seattle. You might need to go one off there, but the outfield, Carroll, Peterson, and Robles. If you want to go with the Kansas City stack and the cover boy there, then Gilbert, your SP2, again, it's going to be predicated on the rest of your lineup. You know the options we talked them through there, but at catcher, I'm probably going to take Perez there. He's gets the Jordan, the righty there. First base, Pasquantino, you can go with, but I'm probably going to throw Riley in there for the other cheap guy for Seattle that has been playing to the rookie. I forget his name now, but he's only like 2 or 3K, really cheap. Second base, gonna fill that with a Seattle guy. Third base, Garcia should lead off, so they'll put him in there. Shortstop, obviously, is gonna be Witt, and then outfield, give me Renfroe, and then give me Robos um, for Seattle, and then you decide if you want to go J Rod in there, if you want to go Hampson, if you want to go Blanco, whoever you want to finish it off with. So that's what I got for you. Hope that helps. So if these videos help you, please like it, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and share it with your friends. If you have any questions, put them in the chat below. And if you want more information on FSi DFS, go to the description of the video, and the link to our pricing page is right there. It's really, I think it's like $3 a day for MLB, and it's like $6 for all our sports in any given day. And our weekly, monthly packages and our VIP package for the whole month is only 25 bucks, and it's very competitive compared to the rest of the industry. And we offer almost everything that's out there. We have baseball and NASCAR is going to be off for a couple weeks. We're doing WNBA. We've had some summer league stuff in the NBA chat. Soccer, Charlie has always been outstanding. PGA, so we've got it you covered for DFS sports. So thanks for watching. Good luck in your contest. You know how to get a hold of me if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.